I gotta say for the characters, and this is my fault, not the books, but I see Khlid's name, and even though it ends on a D and it does not start with a C, that's what my brain translates it to. So there's some unintentional hilarity whenever I see her name. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kat, and today I would like to talk about Daniel Greene's Breach of Peace. In the book, Inspector Khlid gets called to a horrendous murder scene where a whole family has been massacred. She and her husband and another colleague begin the hunt for the people who are responsible, but it soon spirals into something bigger and into a conspiracy that could not only end Khlid's career, but possibly also her life, and that of those around her. Let's start with a disclaimer about the gore. If you enjoy gore and blood, or if you just skim over it, which is what I do, then this is fine. If it upsets you, then this is probably not a book for you, because, oof, pretty grim. This was a pretty quick read, which is, well, I mean, it's a novella. It's 140 pages in print, I think. I think the pacing was okay. I didn't feel like putting the book down at any point. But because it's so short, that also causes an issue with the characters. You don't get enough time to really get to know them. And because they have to rush through the plot and the investigation, they all seem rather bland. Part of this issue is also that the book tells you a couple of things about the characters rather than shows you. So you get to hear how much Khlid and Samuel are into each other and how happy their marriage is. But it doesn't really do much for you, like it doesn't endear you to the characters all that much. In part because at one point when they swoon over each other or start making out, it's still at the crime scene. It's like, what on this crime scene has given you the idea that this is the time for this? There's one plot bit in particular that I didn't think actually went anywhere. In the beginning, somebody has clearly broken into a shed and they discuss like the glass is spread inwards, how there's blood on the floor, and oh, somebody grabbed a weapon and tried to defend themselves against the massacre that you find in the house. But then that never comes back up, so apparently nobody actually defended anything with this weapon. You get some blatant foreshadowing, and more than once. Like the first time it pops up, it's still up for interpretation. Like, does it mean that this is just Khlid's last case because her career will be ruined over it, or does she die? We don't know at that point. So the first, like, foreshadowing, that's a bit too obvious to be foreshadowing, I think, but the first time this happens, it's okay, and because it leaves room for interpretation. The second time something this obvious pops up, it's like, oh, okay, one of them is going to die. Thank you for letting me know beforehand. Not sure why, but okay. The part I enjoyed most about this book is the glimpse of the world building you get. The empire Khlid lives in is built on a theocracy with God or the Almighty at the top and half gods of sorts called the Anointed underneath, who are very rarely seen anywhere and who are free to do as they please as long as it goes along with whatever the Almighty wants, I suppose. And then the police force are seen as agents of God as well, and they have pretty much free reign because both the Anointed and the inspectors come with a judge, jury and executioner mentality that is quite disturbing and tells you just how dark this is gonna get, you know, if the gore didn't tip you off at the beginning. The one thing that I personally really appreciated, two of the victims seem to be a gay couple because they find both of these guys in the same room, which means that at the very least homophobia doesn't seem to be a thing in this world, and this is great, even though a lot of the world seems to resemble Victorian England, although they seem to have slightly better weapons as far as I can tell. But it resembles Victorian England, except they don't have to follow the same opinions or values that the British held back then, so that's nice. And because I didn't get much time with those characters, I didn't really build any attachment to them, and as such the ending didn't hold much of a punch for me. It is a gruesome ending, yes, but I don't know, people died and you were just like, okay then. I did feel sorry for some of the bystanders and witnesses at the end. You don't spend much time with them either, obviously, but I somehow felt sorrier for them than for some of the main cast. I think the writing in this was decent, and the world was intriguing enough for me to keep going when the next part comes out. And those of you who enjoyed the first Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie or any of his other works will see a resemblance to it, I guess, or it works in the same vein, I suppose, and you might enjoy this as well. But don't expect the characters to be as interesting as, like, say, Glockton and Sand, because they're not there yet. On a side note, I think the price point is a bit excessive on this. Like, it's a novella of like 140 pages, and then 10 quid for the paperback seems a bit much, to be honest. So overall, I think it deserves this cat and the paw, because I think it's quite promising in parts, and other parts still need some work, but it's the author's first work, and for that I think it's pretty solid. And I look forward to seeing more of this world. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and tell me whether you read the book and what you make of it in the comments. And I'll be back next week with another video. Bye guys!